a quick commercial about that?
Well, we're going live to YouTube.
Okay.
So we're live right now.
Okay.
So, but yeah, we can make a little commercial about that.
Let's clip that. Okay, so I'm going to get ready for you to clip it. So what is up, Beastmode?
Hey, not a whole lot, Howie. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Kicking off a late night one this time.
Let's do it, man.
Now we've got lots of ammo though from a long day, so that's good. Yeah, I was just telling you a second ago, I thought maybe we should clip this for a little LinkedIn promo. But one of the things that's helped me in my sales career is whenever I think about, is it time to make the next phone call? Is it time to reach out again to a prospect? If I have that thought, then I decide, it's kind of a pre-made decision that I have, and I teach my sales team this too, that if I have the thought to do it, then I go ahead and do it. Because we tend to have a bias to be a little bit conservative and a little bit fearful sometimes in outreach. And it's better to lean in than to lean out. So when I have the thought, is it time to make the next phone call from a customer outreach perspective? The answer is yes, it's time.
Yeah, so true. I mean, you can't explain why. If you're faith-based, Howie and myself, it's the Holy Spirit. But whatever it is, whatever the nudge is, just do it. Especially when it comes like that.
So good.
Nike was right.
I love it. So we're going to talk about our next phase in the process. So last week we talked about how to spot open doors. We're more than happy to take questions on that. We're more than happy to have you guys, email us. Anytime you want to email us questions for us to answer, you can just email Howie and beastmode@gmail.com. It's kind of long, but just Howie and beastmode@gmail.com. But yeah, so we talked about opening doors last week. This time, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah, so last week we talked about identifying new opportunities and identifying the door. Hey, that's a door. Now we're going to talk about stepping through the door, because they're two different processes. First, you got to be able to see the door. Then it's almost, okay, now what do I do? Which there's that big fear. And so the first step, once you're going through the door, is discover problems to solve. What's new here? What issues do I need to overcome? And it's almost, sometimes they come right after you. You step through that new opportunity and there's a hurdle. Okay, well, let's make a list. That new hurdle is not a reason to back out of the door. It's just a reason, okay, I'm reassessing this door.
So good. Yeah, so you run a nonprofit and a startup, a business startup. Yeah. And so you're constantly encountering new things that are a problem. And of course, those problems are also an opportunity, whether it just might be an opportunity to save money, or it just could be an opportunity to not screw up, or it could be something really proactive. So you're running into that every day. I'm running into that because I have a new job, and I am, having conversations, and I'm identifying some things that people are anxious about and some problems that I'm seeing now just from a few days of observation. And it's exactly what you said. I love that you said that. I'm absolutely writing them down. I'm literally logging them as I run into them. And I'm trying to see how often those are happening. And I'm using those to kind of like pattern recognize across, the whole, across the job and across the company. How prevalent are these problems? Are they serious enough to be addressed?
Yeah, and the reason why we write them down too often, I know that I have in the past, so I'm going to speak for myself. I've stepped through a new door, or I'm walking through, problems arise, and I want to get rid of the problems. And so not necessarily solve the problems or fix the problems. I just want to get rid of them. I don't want to look at it, so I didn't really assess it, and what happens is that if we don't assess, or if we don't take note, then when we step into our next bullet point, which is discovering processes to repeat, or it ties into the third point, which is establishing relationships, meaning, has anybody else stepped through a door similar to this, and have they run into the same problem? Can I Google search, when I'm discovering processes? Has anybody just, started a business and they're having this type of issue? Is there already a process in place? But if I didn't, assess and document, then it would be hard to go research and seek out new information.
So good. One of the reasons why, going back to the discover problems to solve, one of the reasons why I like what you said about writing those down is that we sometimes carry, and I know we try to be very practical on this podcast, but there's also the psychological side that we are burdened with. And one of the acts of writing those problems that you see down is therapy. Here's the reason why. You're walking around and there's like this vague thing that's kind of attacking you metaphorically, but there's like this vague cloud. When you write it down on paper, it's almost like the act is you're sort of like taking control of that, right? You're doing something, you're writing that down. And you're also seeing on paper that, all right, yeah, that's a problem, but it's not like this vague black cloud that I was carrying around that like is a hidden monster. It's just like two sentences on a page that, yeah, I need to figure out, but no one's dying, you know? So I think I really resonated when you said you should try to write down that when you're stepping through that open door. And the first thing is you start to run into problems, write those problems down. I really resonated with that.
Yeah, and be specific. It just reminded me of a conversation I had with my 4-year-old son where he was so mad this past Saturday, and he was getting all worked up and he's turning red. And I just had to, and I'm trying to get him to say, what exactly is it? And he's going on this big thing, telling me all this. Okay, Hunter Bear, what is it? Tell me what it is. And he finally spit it out that this toy was moved over here. Okay, well, just move it back. You see how easy that was? See how easy that fixes? Because it's so specific, we can now fix it. When it's vague, big black cloud, like Howie's talking about, you can't fix that. You know, how do you bottle in and get rid of a puff of smoke? You can't. But if you find the fire, you can put it out.
You know, we've talked, you know, we have a Beastmode and I do a church group. And we talked a few minutes ago in that group about the concept of, you know, your circle of influence and how your circle of influence can have a huge impact on both opportunities as well as support and health and many, many things. But it occurs to me that conversation that you just had is a great example of, you know, we should write our problems down, but also I think it's good if we can share them with someone, because maybe to you or to me, it might be this huge black cloud that's going to end all of time. But when I talk to you, you know, and you know, you have to give people a little bit of grace because they may not understand, but you know, usually you'll get some kind of direction as an outsider that, well, that may be not as big of a deal. It may not be like the end of days, like you just said. You know, it just may be something, you know, or have you thought about this? So I think writing down was really good. I think your second one was just as good though. You're kind of on a roll, which is sharing with somebody else and helping to get that outside perspective.
Yeah, and so just to kind of double back, you know, our point number 2 is discovering processes to repeat. When you're coming in, you know, a door that you're already in, that you're already implementing, that you're already doing well in, whether you know it or whether you realize that you already have processes in place that when you wake up, you get the ball rolling. If you have a team, you pass the baton and you let them run, you know? And so that's, as a leader, when we're stepping through and whatever it is, again, in business or personal, you know, that's the first thing I need to identify. Okay, where am I starting? Where can I pass off? Where can I find new ways to streamline some of that? You know, get more people involved. That's part of processing.
It's good. Yeah, so we start something new, or, you know, whether it's a new job, a new company, a new endeavor within the company, whatever it is. Step number 1 is you're going to discover problems to solve. We talked about some of the ways to navigate that. And now, as Beastmode has teed us up, we're going to discover some processes to repeat. So what are some things that are already working that have worked at least once that I can do again, right? So one of the things in my new company that I'm working for, that I just started on the 9th, it's funny, you should see my behavior because probably every other person that I'm talking to, I'm asking what has worked before. Because my idea is that, yeah, as an outsider, I'll have some new ideas, but I also want to make darn sure I do what this next point is, which is discover processes to repeat. So I want to like catalog. So I've kind of, Beastmode talked about writing down your problems. I'm also writing down good, positive ideas. And guys, listen, I've been there 6-7 days. I don't know how many days I haven't counted. On February 9th, of course, there was a kind of like a company meeting for 3 days, so that doesn't necessarily count. But I've been there a few days, and I have probably like over a page of tightly typed notes of line after line of ideas. So I think when you come into a situation, just real observation and documenting exactly as Beastmode says, that step 2 is discovering processes to repeat.
Yeah, so good. And I know that it's so fresh for you. So I know that's why it resonates. It's like that fresh burn, that sunburn, so fresh. But and we've already discussed a little bit of step 3, but it's furthering that establishing relationships. And I really want to double down on that point of walking through an open door. Is anybody in my circle of influence, have they walked through a door similar to this? Did they have any insights? And sometimes you can do this before you're going, as I'm going through, before I walk through the door. Hey, anybody started a business before? Okay. So as I'm starting the business, I can be seeking wise counsel. I can be getting information, but as I'm doing it, I don't have to wait, But then as I'm going through, you're reaching out. Has anybody, and that's, this is the first thing I did when I started the nonprofit. I started calling, and people I didn't know, I was calling, saying, hey, what did you do? How did you start? What obstacles did you find? Just seeking any information I could. So
awesome. So seeking advice is part of that process. Step 3, seeking advice, seeking relationships, looking for, who do you have a kind of a kindred spirit with, or who do you have an affinity with? One of the things that I'm sort of doing a little bit consciously right now is I'm trying to add some value early on in this company. I'm doing that through partly through ideas that I'm sharing, because as an outsider, I will have some fresh stuff for them for sure. So I'm trying to listen more than I'm sharing, but I am sharing some. So I'm trying to build those relationships by sharing some value to them. And then I'm also using life. I'm using words of life, words of affirmation. Some people have been already a big support to me on my journey. Monday, I sent my recruiter a Slack message, this long Slack message, thanking her for how she conducted the job interview process. And she was blown away that I would thank her for that. And I said, yeah, you treated me basically like a friend during the job interview process. And that means a lot to a job seeker. And she was floored by that. I guarantee it that we have a good relationship now. So what can I do to add a little value and not just take in, but also add some value, and then also share some life? People need that stuff. And people, it's funny. I've had conversation with people that was like months or years after the thing. And people were like, yeah, what you said really, really helped me. It really blessed me. And so, yeah, I really encourage you guys to triple down on this third point that Beastmode had shared with us, which is establishing relationships. When you're walking through that new thing, look for relationships, try to add value, which we talk about only on every single podcast, but then also those affirmations.
Yes. And I just kind of had another thought. So oftentimes whenever we're going through this process, it's just like I said, I'm walking through this open door. I discover a problem. I'm reaching out to anybody and everybody who can help me solve this problem, right? And yes, we need that. But I also need the people who, as I'm going through the door and I don't see the giant cliff I'm about to walk off, who can say, hey, you know what? I've been there before and I see you're about to fall off that cliff. Would you like some insight on that? I need people who can see things that I can't. And whenever we our last series, we spent some time talking about that. I need people who, whenever I take them option A, are going to give me insight on option A. But I also need the people who, when I bring them option A, they're going to say, have you thought about option B? there's a whole nother option over here. And so you got to have both of that.
Wow, that's good. Yeah, and sometimes, guys, listen. Some of the people that you want in your, it's not just like the quote unquote really, really, really nice people that you want in your circle, right? I mean, you want to have some people that can push you a little bit. Now, if they're toxic, now we don't want to necessarily introduce that into our circle. Sometimes you have to work with some of those folks. But if you can invite some people in who have the confidence and the leverage where they will share a critique, wow, that's really big. Because I mean, if you come in with plan A and you, like Beastmode was just saying, and you totally didn't think about option B, that should be part of it, then you want to have somebody challenge you. So that was great. That's a good reminder.
Yeah, and I want you to dive into point 4, and I'm gonna run off of you.
Yeah, cool. So the fourth aspect is documenting lessons, and I just feel like there's we've talked in the podcast a couple of times about projects and problems, and we use that a lot when we talk about diagnosing a business to help it grow and to avoid problems. So projects and problems, we use that a lot externally. But when you're trying to grow and transform a business internally, or you're doing a new business thing or a new job, also documenting projects and problems that you run into is a really big idea. So documenting your lessons that you run into. And those two categories are, what are the projects that I'm responsible for or that others might be leaning on me for? What are projects that maybe I have the knowledge enough to help with? It's not a project right now, but there's some value I can bring by documenting that, as a potential project, or also documenting lessons in the form of problems. So, things that we see or things that we have historically seen that might matter in this particular situation. So, yeah, I think just good documentation. And I think there's a place for sharing that as well. I think one of the things when I was hired that this company was keen on is that I would be a collaborator, because people sometimes have this, like, they have their guard up and people like, it's like a fort. It's like an information fort, and people feel like they have to protect their fort versus, why wouldn't I want to help Beastmode to be successful? Why wouldn't I? What does it take away from me if he looks good, or if he has more money, or if he's more whatever, or his department is, And so people just don't understand that abundant mindset. And I think documenting, is also for the act of sharing, not just documenting for ourselves, but it's documenting what we found and then also sharing that.
Yeah, I want to piggyback, but pull in our last series, specifically our last episode where we talked about imagination. I think sometime you're going to set milestone dates, so 30, 60, 90, and I want to remind myself, where am I at right now? Where do I want to go? Do it at 30. This is where I'm currently at. But my imagination of where I want to be in this business, where I want to take this idea, where do I see myself? Okay. Am I doing the things today at day 30 that I need to get myself to that position? Sometimes you don't know, but I do generally know, am I being detrimental to that plan of who I want to be? And then you do it again at 60, or maybe you do it again at 120 days and 360 days out, but you just have that checkpoint of, where am I at right now? And am I on the trajectory right now to accomplish, to be where I want to be?
Okay. So it can really help you with your goals.
Yeah. Well, goals, I mean, when we talked about imagination and vision, we didn't talk about it more from a goal setting. We talked about it more from a personal standpoint of, who do I want to be? Does this decision, does this action, does me running from this problem, does me solving this problem, does it make me be does it further my imagination of where I want to be for this, or does it hinder it? And so it's a checks and balance. Yeah. But yes, it definitely can be part of goal setting.
That's good. Well, what else would you like to cover on this? I know we kind of planned this to be a little bit of a shorter episode, which is going to happen sometimes. Sometimes it'll be longer. What else what else kind of speaks to you just generally on this topic of walking through the doors?
Yeah, I'm just really excited for everyone to begin identifying their opportunities, because there's opportunities there every day. We have and I'm not trying to use the word again, but we have the ability to choose the opportunities we go down. And what happens is, if we don't choose, life will choose for us. And so I'm just imploring us. The reason why we're doing this is because we want you to be in charge of choosing. Because if you don't choose, life will choose for you.
Wow.
And so we're helping you identify. We're helping you. Okay, I've identified a door. I've identified an opportunity. Now what? Okay, step through. Once I've stepped through, you're gonna be slapped in the face with problems. What do I do? Okay, let's get practical.
That's such a good one, because I was thinking about how busy I get at work, and yet the times, and I wrote about this recently, but the times that I really moved the needle were when I chose what I would be working on instead of just responding to situations or reading email, replying to email or whatever fires were out there. Whenever I took the time to build something special, it invariably made a difference as I look back. And so I totally agree with you on choosing where to spend your time and choosing life instead of letting life choose you. So that's really, really good. It could be another episode, really, because you talk about the building phase, and avoiding distractions. So we should think about that for the next one. But I really resonate with that quite a bit. One thing, anything else to share?
That's it.
I think one thing that we need to be a little bit selfish, guys, is we've done about 52, 53 episodes now, and it would mean a lot to us. It's just this little selfish thing, but it's fun to see this get viewed, right? It's a lot of work to do these, and it's a passion. But if you could like and subscribe, that would be really cool, because then what happens is it gets viewed more. So that would be really big. We have seen a gradual growth curve. But it's been really slow, but it's there. But it would help us out a lot. So if you can like and subscribe, and if you're on YouTube, if you can comment, then that would be a super big help for us, and share with folks who need sort of business framed in encouragement is almost how I would describe what we do, because it's always from an encouragement standpoint, because we really are for y'all. So anyway, I thought I'd give us a commercial Beastmode on that. We never asked for that. I feel like we should ask for that sometimes. Yeah,
not a problem. So thank you, Howie. I'm excited to be walking through new doors with you. And I'm excited for everyone out there who's making the decision, choosing today to step out through the new door.
Awesome. Appreciate it.